Good morning, neighbors. It is Monday, the 9th day of October. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Of course, on the show this morning, we just heard from Paul Richards with our news brief. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen. Richard is a bit tired. Of course, Ruben is in the mix. Let's get straight into the WTs and see what's happening weather and traffic-wise. Starting out at San Fernando, I got nothing to tell you about. Head up north, nothing. Just after Freeport, you'll get some traffic going to Sugar Gornis. That main road is beginning to build. And, of course, Charlieville towards the interchange. You've got some traffic there. I got one accident for you as well. It is on the Valencia stretch. Yep, it's on the Valencia stretch. That is creating some traffic. That is such a dangerous road. That Valencia stretch. It's almost in the middle, but traffic is building there and quite heavy as it is. Maloney to Piarco, Trinidad City towards Yui, and then slow going from Curep towards Barataria, and then swim call into Port of Spain, beginning to build out in Maraval and Moncoco Road. Nothing out of Diego Martin. All right. Of course, that one accident is on the Valencia stretch. Traffic-wise, it is 27 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 26 at Crown Point in Tobago. What the Met Office is saying our weather is going to be like for today. Did they update it? Yep. They said mostly hot and sunny conditions despite a few isolated light to moderate showers, 30%, which is low. Low chance of isolated afternoon heavy shower. All right. Mostly fair evening. Just a reminder, the hot spell alert number 2 is effect. Yep, yellow level. And hazardous seas alert is also in effect. Yellow level. Of course, that came into effect yesterday. Checking some temps across our listenership. Let's see what we got. Toronto, you're sitting chilly and windy at 7 degrees. Miami, 24th. That beautiful weather for the carnival yesterday. Of course, Toronto celebrates. It's a long weekend today. It's a long weekend for Canada. Thanksgiving Day was yesterday, so it's a public holiday. So expect the embassy to be closed today. Orlando, you're at 18, 9 in New York. Atlanta, you're at 7 and clear. London, 18 and cloudy. Tampa, 18. Washington, D.C., mostly clear and 7 degrees. Our listener out in LA, it's 17 degrees. You just want to know how hot it is? It's 38 degrees in Dubai. All right. That's some temps for you. Hope it helped you out in one way or the other. Let's check to see who sent us hellos via YouTube and Facebook this morning. Oh, okay. Godcilia, good morning to you out in Valencia. DJ Ray, Reno Halasi, good morning. He's in Delaware. It's very cold this morning, he says. Oliver Man Warren, good morning. Doreen Pierre, D. Pierre, good morning. Wendy and James, Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona. Vaughn Drayton, Marcia Rock, good morning. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning to you. Carol Guevara. Good morning. Wayne B. in Covington, Georgia. Salim Abdullah. Good morning, neighbors. Karen Yipnow. Good morning. Trevor Broadbelt. Good morning to you as well. All right. So I say good morning going out to Paul Richards. And I will say to Paul Richards, what would I say to Paul Richards? I would say, good morning. And?
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone.
Morning to you, my friend. How are you?
Sleepy, but okay, I'm good, thanks. How are you all?
Not bad. I join you with that one. Sleepy. How was your... Yeah, I can imagine. How was your trip?
It's very good, actually. Quite good. Mm-hmm. Spent the weekend in London.
I saw. Across the pond.
And the weather was great. The weather was like 18 degrees. It's like perfect for me, which is what I think all weather should be. The world should be kept at 18 degrees.
Yeah, light jacket.
Yeah, I just think the world should be kept at 18 degrees. The world shouldn't go above 18 degrees, and all will be well in the world. We'll be very happy people.
All right. Good morning to you, Wendell Stephen. What's happening?
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Paul. Is that I see you back? Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. I just had some internet issues to sort out, Lord,
Mhm.
because TNTech, as they are want to do now, there's a lot of dips in the electricity now, right? A
Oh, yes.
lot of fluctuations. And somehow the morning, I just realized again, I got up in complete darkness and hearing all these beeping noises because all things are rebooting. I'm saying, Lord, so this morning I had to just restart everything to get the internet going and to get everything. I just had to restart everything. Even my fish pump, I gone out there, it off because the internet is a mess. A mess. Anyway, all's well that ends well. I'm in the show and we are here, happy to be in the land of the living. I have loads of birthday greetings this week. Steve, today's your dad, right?
Today is my father's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
It was Helen Bagwan Singh celebrated her 83rd birthday on the weekend as well.
Mm-hmm. But on
Yeah.
this weekend, Arlene Riley, along with Robert Wiltshire, they celebrated their birthday yesterday, along with Glenn Rogers. He also celebrated his birthday yesterday, too. So happy belated birthday greetings. And today is, well, I know tomorrow is Adele Wiltshire's birthday. That's Robert's wife. So let me wish her happy birthday from now. Today is Diane Payne, Bernadette Brown, our favorite, one of our listeners and contributors. Today is her birthday.
Hmm.
Happy birthday, Bernadette. And yesterday was Nelline Sangster's birthday also. That's Arlene's sister. Arlene and her sister born on the same day, different year. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, the mother and father were also October born. And the brother is also October born too. Believe it or not. 5 members of one family, all born in October. So happy birthday to anyone else celebrating a birthday between today and tomorrow.
Hmm. Yeah.
There are a couple things I wanted to touch on, guys. One is that video of the robbery on Charlotte Street. There are several things I could say about that video. One, about a foreigner taking a chance to walk with that kind of money in Port of Spain. You understand? Knowing fully well what has been happening in the Port of Spain or anywhere else for that matter, leaving a bank with that kind of money and walking through Port of Spain. Two, the fact that the fellas and them was so brazen enough to pull up to do that robbery in front of people and didn't
Yeah,
care
that don't
any
matter to them anymore.
repercussions.
That doesn't
Yeah,
matter to them
because
anymore.
anybody there could have had a firearm, a licensed firearm, somebody passed, whatever, and dealt with them. And thirdly, the fact that nobody came to that lady's rescue. That to me was so disturbing. I mean, I can understand people being afraid, but in a
Hmm.
circumstance like that where you're seeing fellas just grabbing at somebody, no obvious weapon out, nobody came to her rescue. Nobody.
Well, that's
No.
just one robbery on Charlotte Street that was caught on video. There are many in the course of a regular
Yeah.
day. I know someone that
Yeah.
they tried to take his um they tried to rob them, and what he did, he just dropped to the floor.
Mm.
And that was just week before. There are many robberies on Charlotte Street that is not
Yeah.
reported.
But in Port of Spain, on the whole.
I will tell you, people can call me coward,
Mm.
but depending on the circumstance, I'm not intervening.
Mm.
Yeah, it's tough.
Intervening don't mean physically intervening, Paul. It don't always mean physically intervening
What
too,
does it
eh?
mean? Call the police? I will call the
You could call
police.
the police. You could you
I
could
will
you
call the
could
police.
raise
But
an
I'm not.
alarm.
I
You
am
could.
not. I will raise an alarm, but I am not going to run in because most of these people have guns.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have no problem with that fear. With that fear, you know what I mean? But with I don't know if 4 or 5 people do it at the same time, if it might make a difference. I don't know.
And how are 4 or 5 people coordinating in their minds to do the same time?
Well,
People have the total stranger's not going to look at somebody in our environment, look at in our environment, and think, oh, let's rush them together. People, most criminals, most crimes committed in that kind of an arena, the people have guns, so you're going to just put yourself at danger. Yeah. My mindset is people should somebody try to rob you, get any money. You don't lose your life for $50, $100, $200,000 because your life, you can't get back your life, and the money is the money.
Yeah. True.
Okay, you could make back more money. You can't make back your life.
Yeah.
So while I know people work hard for the money, and it could be a matter of your family doing something to your family, just don't work with that kind of money.
Yeah.
Just don't.
That's where I started off. I started off from that perspective.
Don't work with that kind of money. It just make me. But you think you'll be the lucky one? No, you won't. Yeah. Sadly, you won't be the lucky one. They will, and more than likely tell yourself that there's a high percentage that somebody may have been watching you come out of the bank, or somebody may have told somebody's given some information to one of their accomplices. Just don't take the chance.
Yeah.
On the good front, though, I would like to waste no time in congratulating the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in the charges being laid in the Heights of Guanapo murders and the Andrea Lalan and her uncle's murder, which is, just
also
Paul,
the Passad robbery.
The Passad robbery, the fetus that was found in Maraval as well. They have someone in.
Yeah. Let's congratulate the TT Police and Commissioner Illa here with Christopher on the laying of charges in these cases. And again, I will say it. It is sad that the commission is not front and center, branding herself with these significant breakthroughs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because these are significant breakthroughs. And they don't happen without leadership, coordination, and hard work by the TTPS.
True.
They don't just happen by guess.
Even in the case of that robbery on Charlotte Street, they've been able to identify who the perpetrators are. I don't know if they've arrested them, but they've issued a release with photos of them.
Yeah. So these are
not only that, another one to add to that is that they have actually held someone. Remember last week, a U.S. citizen went up Picton Street and was robbed, and they actually apprehended one person, have him for questioning.
Picton Street.
Yeah, remember we went to meet somebody off a dating app?
Oh, Nelson Street?
Nelson Street, sorry. There we go.
Well, yeah, of the Grinder app. Yeah.
There's another situation that people really need to be careful about, which people have lost their lives actually because of those situations where gay men go on these anonymous dating apps, and it's happened. People have lost their lives in the last 10 years or so. And he's an American, right? This one.
Yeah, he's an American citizen.
Went on to Grindr, met someone, said he'd been talking to them for a while, and decided to meet with them for whatever reason. And the people, he was accosted by 4 others in addition to the one he thought he was talking to. And they took his car keys, his car, his money, his cell phone, everything, stripped him naked, and sent him on his way.
Yeah.
He's lucky to have escaped with his life, quite frankly.
Very lucky.
You know? So, really a stupid thing to do in this environment. It may be popular in other jurisdictions, but this is not the place to do that.
No.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, because you could...
The issue of the arrest in the Passad robbery, where they robbed the owner of Passad's is this supermarket or is it
Passad supermarket? Right. They found his firearm in the Bitham.
Right. Now the guy is a guy out on bail. Okay, also. Right? For other serious crimes. Out on bail. And here he is out there committing these kind of things. So as I say, kudos to the TTPS. the judiciary need to do their part also. Okay? Because this issue of people accessing easy bail, of course, it's their right. But in a lot of cases, these people are committing other crimes whilst out on bail.
But you're saying so. And there's another part of that story, as I told you. The master of the court, Christian Allen Morris,
Allen,
came before the JSC National Security a couple of months ago and presented evidence that displayed in the period between May, because I think it's May she came before the JSC, 2022 and 2023, less than 4% of persons who applied for bail for murder and serious crimes got bail.
Yeah.
She also said, and people need to understand when people make these statements, that the bail depends on the case and the evidence presented by police.
Yeah.
Bail is not granted in a vacuum.
Well, in some cases,
you understand?
They do grant.
And she said in many cases, the evidence is witness and circumstantial at best.
Well, Paul, I hear you on that, but the fact of the matter is that the evidence in this matter proves otherwise, because I don't know that bail probably would have been granted in a vacuum in that case. It happens. You understand? And the fact that this fella had a
what was the evidence presented?
I'm trying to find the story. But if somebody's listening who could present the story for me, that'd be help me. But I read the story and I said, wow, what is he doing out on bail? What is he doing out on bail? You know,
well, it's according to what the law says.
Well, I know the law.
It's according to what the law says.
Hold on, I'm not opposed to bail, you know. I'm not opposed to bail, right? I'm just saying in some of these cases, it's really frightening how some of these people end up outside. It really is.
I agree with you, but then the question to be asked is the judiciary following the law, which is a big, or are the police not presenting the kind of evidence or cases to have the magistrate or the judge, deny the bail?
Yeah.
The bail is a law. There are laws surrounding if and how bail should be granted.
Yeah.
So, it's not as cut and dry as some people want to make it out to be. Yeah. That the criminal, the judiciary just letting go hardened criminals. How is that in the interest of keeping the country safe? Because the criminal justice system comprises the judiciary also. So if the police are not presenting proper cases, and she says the police need to invest in hiring or training officers in more scientific measures of evidence.
But I don't know how the TTPS can't even set up a sting operation in Port of Spain to catch these guys, because the reports coming out of Doma and a lot of the business people are that it's a ring of guys doing these things in the city, a ring who's well known, right? So why hasn't there some sting operations been set up? That can be difficult to me, in my opinion, to do. Have a group of 5 officers. One look like a homeless person. One walking with cash in his hand, counting. You understand? Make it obvious and get these guys on them. You know what I mean? Do something.
You know what's interesting about that?
You can't just walk back. Huh?
But what's interesting about that? You have direct access to police at that point.
What's that?
So you had direct access to police at the point. Direct access.
No, I give ideas. I give ideas liberally.
You had direct. Should I use the word intimate? Let me stay with direct.
Good direct.
Let me stay with direct. And I'll be safe with direct. Direct access to senior officials in the police service.
Yes, I also had direct access to a Minister of National Security, the longest serving for 7 years. And he and I used to get away a lot when I would tell him certain things. You understand? Of course, some of those things he did. Because remember too, I was in a position where
you were a special advisor
I
to the
was
Minister of National Security. That what you're saying?
I never said that. I'm missing the
Oh
Minister
God,
of
you're
National
not making
Security
joke.
was-
I'm making joke. I'm
I
making
know.
joke. It was a
But some
facetious
people might
statement.
take it. Some people might take it serious, you know. But I'm telling you.
And what are they gonna do? And what are they gonna do at this
will-
point? What are they gonna do at this point?
Who's that?
I'll show you and get a cent for their advice. People giving
None.
advice and getting plenty money, you know.
None. I got intimacy at one time, but none. From the other source, not that source.
And
I'm
the
just saying,
wonderful son. And the wonderful son.
Yeah. Oh yes. I'm just saying
because I was involved in
politics. Because I've spent 21 years in politics. I'm now 18 years in the media and Power Breakfast Show. Information, all different manner of information comes to me from all different sources, naturally, because of the politics and the media. And I'm sure you're experiencing that too, Paul. You're in the politics and you're in the media. You understand? So you get it from the political
to me is
side.
one and the same thing. You need to separate them.
No,
you could call them the polymedia or the mediatics.
Some of the information different, you know. You understand? So I'm just saying it's things yes, you have to process and know how to do. And because of the fact too that the politics I was involved in, and I'm no longer involved in it, and thankfully that frees me up to say a lot that I can say. Because I was in the General Council of the PNM and an elected official and in the legislative, there are certain things I would hear in the politics that I can't come on radio with. You understand? But there is nothing that I could hear on radio and not go into the politics with. So that's where I used to have to draw the line a lot. I couldn't come all the time and talk about some of the things in the politics. I can do so now. You know? Because I no longer hold those positions.
I'm really happy that the police have been able to make these significant breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And I see a former commissioner of police, Dwayne Gibbs, is in the Guardian, in an article saying that the award of government contracts to gang leaders fueled the record numbers of extortion being observed during his tenure from 2010 to 2012, which is a profound statement.
Dwayne Gibbs said that?
Dwayne Gibbs in the Guardian of 10 hours ago. Derice Polo is the author.
But do you remember that very public, I think they formed the basis of a front page photo of a certain reputed person with certain ministers in the heart of Port of Spain. I think they were building a police station, repairing a police station. The person got the contract to repair a police station. You remember that? Or build a police post in Port of Spain. I don't forget those things. The person had his sobriquet was a language. You know, like how you have French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, and things like that. The person's sobriquet was along those lines. You don't remember that, Paul? Steve?
No, I don't. Elucidate.
Pull up. Let me Google and find the article for you. Hold on.
So, the other big story, of course, continues globally to be the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Yes, I was watching
that. It's escalating, and Israel has reported 600 dead. Hamas reported as much as 300 dead as that conflict escalates, which is centuries old. And to me, I don't know, I don't understand. It's just crazy, you know, it's to imagine. The US has continued, of course, to pledge its support for Israel. And I saw, is it Iraq or Iran? One of those countries pledging their support to Hamas. And it's just like, it's in this environment globally, it's like another war. This while the Ukraine-Russia still going on, eh? So another major conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Men with the egos and toys. Men with the egos and toys.
It's a little more than that. In the case of Putin, is like that to me. You could simplify it like that. But in the Israel-Hamas situation, is so that Israel-Palestinians, Hamas, it's so complex and so
right.
laden with history and context.
So I found the article is by Yvonne Babulal. It goes, the mystery surrounding Beetham community activist Kenneth Spanish Rodriguez has deepened as HDC Managing Director Jillian John has dismissed his role as either a contractor or subcontractor on a state project. Rodriguez has said he is the main man on the government's police post project on Duncan Street, Port of Spain. But John said yesterday what he is doing there is anybody's guess. He was never given an agency contract to construct a police post. He is not a subcontractor either. Of course, a contractor can hire a subcontractor. I did ask, and I was told he was not. John said she did not even know if Rodriguez was a worker on the project. Now, all this was public story, but a picture was produced. A picture was produced with the same person with the then line minister at the project. That was the picture that made the wrong thing.
Let me tell you something. I don't think that we have been able to excise the involvement, either knowingly or unknowingly, of state contracts ending up in the hands of criminal elements in this country for decades. One way or the other.
And let me tell you,
either knowingly or unknowingly, state contracts end up in the hands of, I wouldn't say gang, criminal elements.
So
let me read this operate by themselves.
Let me read this part of the article that is interesting too, that I didn't know about before, but I'm now reading it. Rodriguez featured prominently during a tour of the $2 million Duncan Street Police Post project with Jillian John, Housing Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal, National Security Minister Gary Griffith, and Acting Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams last week Friday. That was then. Rodriguez told the media on that tour then that he was the contractor for the project. He met and greeted Munilal, then the acting prime minister, John and an entourage, and escorted them to the first and second floors of the building. Now you hear who was the touring party here? The then acting prime minister, who is housing minister, the national security minister, who was Gary Griffith, the commissioner of police, who was Stephen Williams. That's an article. I'm reading from an article here, people. I'm not making this up, right? I'm reading this from an article back then. Right? Days later, Williams, commissioner, told the media the police had information that Rodriguez was involved in gang activity and had passed on this information to the government. Griffith, meanwhile, vowed that he would weed out all criminal elements from state projects, maintaining they would use the money earned from these contracts to strengthen their criminal gangs. He reiterated this again yesterday. So there you have it. That's what Dwayne Gibbs was talking about. They run Dwayne Gibbs out of town, you know. They pay him off and run him in. So I'm surprised that an article like that would resurface at this point in time.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I knew that Dwayne Gibbs and them have said, maybe, I don't know if part of the agreement was for them to have zero to say, a gag order. So that's why I'm surprised now that he is saying something. When he was paid off now, left, because they've never said anything since.
He wasn't paid off to be sold, he just paid off the remainder of his contract. To my knowledge.
He was paid off and run out of town, Paul. You could say it however you want. Let me say it how I want. He was run out of Port of Town, run out of Trinidad and Tobago. I tell you, things I could say now I couldn't say then, you know. And you know that is true. Keep your head down if you know it's true. I like working with you sometimes, you know. I really like working with you sometimes. It's too easy to provoke. Anyway, what else is in the newspaper, Paul?
I'm glad to see that the public is getting to know who the CEO of WASA is, what the acting CEO of WASA is.
Kelvin.
You know, it's what, Mr. What?
Is that a Romanian?
Mr. Kelvin Romanius. And the rationing of water supplies. And well, I wasn't here for a week, so is it that and I'm asking a question. I think is also experiencing problems in some areas.
TNTech is having some
power dips and stuff.
And voltage.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Yes.
Have they given a reason?
They have not.
No.
No, I don't think so.
And it's not specific areas, it's island-wide.
It's all over.
Well, TNTech do depend on God's graces and rainfalling. So that's why I'm making the comparison between TNTech and WASA. WASA, they say it's because of low rainfall and drought. And some reservoirs being at lower than normal levels, you know, so they have to ration water. So the water part, one understands to some level. This is not something we don't go through every year, right? The hottest reservoir in Valencia in particular, and the need by WASA to ration water to particular areas. But the TNTech thing I don't understand, because TNTech is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I do.
The lines roll, and we get electricity. Not so?
Yeah.
That's basically what it is with TNTech. So why is there a continuing issue with low voltage and power supply dips in particular area? Because even before I left, it was happening, because I was getting, I remember 2 weeks before I left, which is unusual for my area. Power dips, power cuts, go on for 3 minutes, come back in 5 minutes, you know? You get a dip and everything goes click, 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 and come back up, you know? And TNTech hasn't given a reason for that as yet, is it?
No, and I'm telling you, that's been happening regularly in St. James by me and here in Arima. It happened this morning.
Yeah, so I think TNTech needs to give a proper account for it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they can't ask the question because they're deep into the budget debate, which will, I think, continue today. And I think TNTech needs to get the population an update as to what is happening and what is being done to remedy it.
We have not heard anything from TNTech when it comes to...
I don't know. That's very odd to me, because, I mean, TNTech is usually a very stable supply of electricity in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. So people appliances are being destroyed.
Well, no, they have a way out of that, you know. If you put the report in, what you usually get is, well, we need to come and inspect your house or your property. And if your property has not been inspected in the 5-year or whatever, 3-year or 5-year or whatever it is time frame within which it's supposed to be examined or by TNTech, they say avoid getting back your money, you know. I've heard that so many times from so many people.
That is a fact.
Yeah, that's TNTech fail safe. Am I wrong?
No. You know, there's just touching, because I'm now going through the Express online, right? And there's a story in today's Express that really has me pained. Because I know the person. There's a picture of him, Rodney Lewis is his name, right? And the article is an article by Suzanne Mohammed in today's Express, right? It starts off, in a household of 13 siblings, the Lewis family from Dabity has always been strong, enduring, and mutually supportive. But for almost 4 months, one family member has been missing, and the family chain has been broken. Missing is Rodney Radar Lewis, whose absence was keenly felt on his birthday on August 14th, when he would have turned 60 years old. Lewis is the seventh of 13 siblings who comprise 7 sisters and 6 brothers. I was married to one of the sisters, I should tell you that. And our family had our own football and cricket team with our siblings. On the morning of June 14, Rodney walked away from his home and headed to the Eastern Main Road. His family thought he might have gone to Mausika, where he works on a farm, but that day he did not return home, and they have not seen him since. 4 months. Right? When his employers said they had not seen Lewis for almost a month, his family knew something was wrong. They raised an alarm and have been searching the community where Rodney lived and loved without success. Now, this is somebody who I saw regularly. When I'm heading down the road, I would pass and I'd see him. We'd talk sometimes, you know. He was a special person. Someone is missing in our family, and it is an incomplete feeling. Rodney always stayed and did almost everything in Davide. He worked and helped a lot of people. As a matter of fact, the plants I have here, the coconut trees that I had planted in the open space, Rodney was the one who came and planted those trees. You understand? So it is such a sad story that well, I'm seeing it in the newspapers today, and I really hope that the family gets closure. I did speak with Anthony about it when I heard about it, and so I've been driving and looking, because I used to see Rodney all over Davide. You understand? So every time I drive, I will be looking. You know, so let's hope I hope that they do get closure. You know, very, very sad story that a family member could just disappear and nobody in the community knows. Nobody in the community knows. That's so crazy. And they lived on the bus route. The property is on the bus route. To enter and exit the property, you have to pass on the bus route. So there's somebody, everybody saw, traversing the east-west corridor. Everybody in that area saw, used to see regularly. He would either be riding a bicycle or just walking. You understand? And he has disappeared 4 months now without a trace, and nobody knows.
That's very difficult for any family to deal with.
Very, very, very sad.
You just need a void of unanswered questions, and you have no closure at all. You have no sense of closure. You don't know whether the person is alive and being kept hostage somewhere, whether they're dead, and you know, you have no closure. So it's a void. Anyway, let's get into the newspapers. It's Monday, the 9th of October. Let's start with the Newsday. Chief Justice troubled by an increase in domestic violence cases. Archie, the ultimate goal is to have an e-judiciary. Duma satisfied with $2.85 billion for Tobago. Public servant files complaint to the Police Service Commission. 2 men charged in the Guanapo killings. Laventille East MP boasts of significant projects in East Port of Spain. RAM, youth unemployment too high at 6.7%. In Ghana, members of the House of Assembly persons, Zorisha Hackett and Abby, I think it's Phillips is her name, and also Kelvin Morris was there and came back on the flight with Chief Secretary Augustine yesterday. Talked to him in the airport yesterday. So I think the Chief Secretary was in London for a bit. You know. Back to the headlines. Hines, police army already securing construction sites. Grand Riviere Beach shifting coastline requires coastal zone planning. And those are the Newsday trending stories. Let's move to the Express now. Culture and arts need more government support. Fire service crisis. This is the views expressed by the Fire Service Association President Leo Rankisoon while speaking to the Express yesterday. Permanent secretary shifted, children with disabilities turned away. 2 charges in Guanapo murders. Union budget falls woefully short. Imber, PAL plan in census Antigua. Let's move to the Guardian online for today. Charges laid in murders of Peterkin siblings. Pilots resigning as state moves to decertify union. Woman vows not to return to TNT after brutal robbery in Port of Spain. Former cop blames state contracts to gang leaders for extortions. Coroner's inquest ordered in Tobago woman's death. And TNT National in Israel appeals for help. And business groups want sales tax to replace VAT. Cops hunt for robbery, suspects in robbery and abduction situations. So those are trending stories in your Express, Guardian, and Newsday. What is this Raymond Ramnarine story that I keep seeing that they issued a warning about people sharing a video of some kind?
A next video of Raymond Ramnarine? I'm not sure.
I don't know. There was a first video of Raymond Ramnarine.
Well, there was something with some wedding something, and that people started to make mischief about. Do you remember?
I don't know. I can't remember
that.
Anyway, so those are trending stories in your three major dailies, Guardian, Express, and Newsday for today, Monday, the 9th of October, 2023.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's get the results of our morning poll from Friday. Friday, we asked you, do you think there will finally be a handle on crime and murders in this fiscal year? That was our poll on Friday. I'll give you the result right after I tell you can party with Pavi and Burn Team Global on Vision 1, a charity cooler cruise, October 14th, boarding Lady Hills Avenue at 4 p.m., sailing at 5 p.m., right? October 14th on Saturday. You can party to the sounds of Dove DJ Lovey, Dub Vendor, and Juicy. Tickets are $250 in groups of 10, $2,000. For tickets, you can call Shamika at 346-8730 or Candice at 271-9655. All right? That's on this Saturday. Do you think there will finally be a handle on crime and murders in this fiscal year? 92%, 92 said no.
Well, I have two potential questions this morning. One leading from that, which is the situation where I think the Minister of Finance announced the police will be hiring 1,000 new police officers, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if 1,000 new police is going to make a difference in the fight against crime.
We did that poll last week.
Yeah, we did that poll. Yeah. We did that poll.
Well, the other poll is, do you think TNTech should update the public on the causes of these power dips and outages?
Constant power dips, yeah? Yeah, we could ask that. Because they haven't really.
Are you having power dips and outages in your area? Well, people outside the country will answer. There's anything with that.
Yeah.
But we could go with the first one to widen it.
Let's go with the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
And
so do you think
I'm warning people from now. I'm warning people from now with regards to this water situation. Prepare yourselves a really bad water situation next year when the dry season kicks in. If it's bad now, it could only get worse. Go and get your water tank if you don't have, or get extra tank and store your water. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Right? That's free advice you're getting from me so earlier.
That's presuming that people are in their own properties and not renting. I don't know if you could put up a water tank if you're renting.
Tell your landlord from now or your landlady, fix that water problem, because you're going to be in a mess next year. For the dry season.
So a question this morning is, do you think TNTech should officially update the public on the power dips and outages, or should I say the reasons for the power dips and outages? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yep. That's a question this morning.
While Paul types it up. Do you think
or no?
we and tech should just come out and say we have a problem? It's emanating from here. We're working on it. Be cautious.
It could be bush falling on line is up this crap out this country.
It's island wide.
Yes or no? So that's our question. 222-TALK, 222-8255, 612-8255, and toll free. If you are in North America, 866-525-1099. I went to Elmina Castle, which is where most of the African slaves were taken from Ghana to the Caribbean and Brazil. And walking through the castle, a woman walked up to me. Your face look familiar. I said, but you're Trini? She said, yes, I am. You're Mauritius. I said, yes. You will see Trinis anywhere you go.
Every nook and cranny.
Yeah. And she and two other women who were walking around in Ghana. She said they're on a tour.
Right. Yeah.
She said, well,
always
look at
meet
this.
somebody there.
I said, but where? How would I expect to walk into a Trini on the Gold Coast of Ghana in a castle where they used to keep slaves? But that tour is very emotional.
Very.
When you saw
you went by the door of no return where you stuck your head through it?
The door of no return where the ones, the states who were giving trouble and rebellious were sentenced and starved to death.
What?
Yeah. And the dungeon for the men and the dungeon for the women. The dungeon for the men held 400, and then there's a little door that goes through to where the ship. It is extremely. Them colonizers was evil people here.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And in the women's dungeon, there was a place, a courtyard where the woman used to be lined up, where the slave master, or the colonizer, I should say, because he wasn't a slave master, he would have been a general in the Dutch army, you understand? And would look down and point at who he wants, and then they would take that one upstairs for him to have his way.
Yeah.
And the ones who rebelled and resisted him would be tied in the middle of the courtyard for days with no food or water, and with a big steel ball by the ankle, and beaten to make an example.
Yeah, that place is very emotional. Trust me.
Them colonizers
very
emotional. Evil people.
All right. Well, let's. Do you think TNTech should officially update the public on the reason for the recent power dips and outages? Good morning, caller.
Steve, good morning. Gabby says they should do that so long because I've been affected tremendously. So the answer is yes.
All right. Thank you. Lord. Okay.
We getting any votes online? I don't realize I ain't checked my online thing. All right.
I just get into it. Beauty culture. Good morning, beauty culture. Anu says yes. Ishout and Malik says yes. Wayne B says yes. Anu's, okay, got it. Salim Abdullah says yes. Vaughn Drayton says yes. Miss Ingrid says yes. Josie Richardson says yes. Any more? Did I miss any?
No, I think that's where it started off.
Yeah.
Do you think TNTech?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Steve, Wendell, and Paul. My answer to the poll is yes. I would just like to remind you all of two situations. I joined you late, so I don't know if you all touched on it already. The school child and the teacher in the school premises, and the lawyer.
Yeah, I wanted to raise that.
You know, with ecstasy and all the different drugs that all he gets is a fine. I don't know if you all spoke about that one. Sorry, not the lawyer, the doctor that was caught and charged for drug trafficking, and all he gets is a fine.
I think it's 14,000.
So the one I wanted to touch on is
right,
the one with the schoolgirl threatening the teacher.
Yeah, so
and
that
she
too.
called her
Julia
mother
S. And she called her mom, yes.
Yeah, because I see tutors issued a statement, I think, on it.
Julia S. Batiste says yes. Carol Guevara says yes. Ronell Hanover, of course. Ms. Maloney, yes. Slick Money Grip, yes. Beauty Culture, yes. It's a tough time to be a teacher now, boy.
Yeah. That teacher remained so calm in that tirade. I say I didn't look at it from the perspective, but then somebody tell me yesterday, reminded me, look at that again, and I said, wow. And the fact that she called her mother to come and deal with the teacher now on Saturday use obscene. I said, what? I generally don't watch them videos with children getting on bad. I do really watch it.
And then there was a fight, and one got stabbed. I believe it was on Friday or Thursday or something like, and his aunt. I don't know. They're just so angry. Mrs. R. Beauty culture says yes.
Got that.
Okay. All right. Do you think TN Tech should officially update the public on the reasons for the recent power dips and outages? That is our poll. Do you think they should update us, the public? Yes or no? 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
And when you call, you get to as if you're having power issues also. If you've had power issues, I should say. Just drop in if you had power dips also in your area. 222-TALK, 222-8255, 612-8255. Toll free, 866-525-1099. Do you think TN Tech should officially update the public on the reasons for the recent power dips and outages? I don't understand why it's happening, and I have not seen any releases.
No, but
I haven't seen any.
Listen, Paul, it's been happening for a while. So much so that a few weeks ago, I'll let you know, I checked the voltage coming into the office, and it was low. I called the electrician. He came and he said something is the voltage coming into the building, something is wrong. TN Tech came the next day because I reported it to TN Tech. And they checked everything. They went on the transformers. They checked everything. They said the voltage was good. But then the individual said that they're having voltage problems. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's low. Sometimes it's even high.
Isn't that dangerous, to my knowledge of electricity?
It has to be.
Well, if you want to go from what happened, the sad story of the baby that perished in a fire last week.
It's another tragic story. Oh my God.
Yeah, another tragic story. That was part of it, that the reason given.
Being away from Trinidad and Tobago and making a decision to cut yourself off from news for about 3 days is a very healthy thing.
Yeah. Just kind of settle down. It's always something.
It was just so you could just breathe for a bit.
It's refreshing, trust me.
Yeah, it is just refreshing. You could breathe for a bit. And even while you try to do that, some news is still slipping on your phone, eh?
Yeah, it does. That's why sometimes
I'm not ashamed to say sometimes I block people temporarily, because I just can't take the constant barrage of bad news.
Yeah, it's a very healthy thing to do.
I'm not ashamed to say I do it. I do it because not that I have saying anything against the person, but I just don't want to deal with all that bad news all the time.
All the time. That's a very unhealthy thing. You have to manage them. But then sometimes you can't avoid it, because even though you don't overtly go seeking the news, people send things to you.
Yeah. Oliver Man Warren says yes. Garcilia says yes.
When did I have your business, sir?
Oh, very good. Very good. So
and when they get the concoction, you see me go, I went by the place and I got the mixture that is give you for your virility, and you got what you wanted. So they mix exactly the water from you name in the computer, and they say the exact mix you usually get from the this and this mix up and the babwande root and all of that, and they send it, so I have it for you.
You get the water from the river? That's the one you had to get.
Well, you didn't send me for that.
I didn't say, next time.
I just went with what you said before. So
Yeah.
so you're good for another year. You're surprised for another year.
Yeah. You got that one, Wendell. PP
No, if
says
that
yes.
I
got another yes for you. I have a yes
Edwin
for
Marshall.
you. Edwin Marshall says yes.
I got that.
Yeah.
Paul, what you were supposed to do, you see that last contact I gave you there? If you had made contact with that person, well, your Ghanaian experience would have go through the roof.
Didn't have the time to because it was such a tight 5-day conference, you know. The only day we really had free was the...
I don't know why I didn't remember to send you that number earlier, you know. But somehow the other, you got to Ghana.
Africa is not what the West portrays it to be at all. Highly developed. You know, of course, there is poverty in some areas, but even the people who we consider not wealthy, let me say not wealthy, they're not starving, and they're very happy.
No.
They have no interest in what is happening in the West in terms of acquiring what they see in the West. Their sense of identity is absolutely strong. They don't want nothing that people craving in the West.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, let's run into our 7 o'clock major news on this, the 9th day
Morning,
of
Avril.
October.
Morning.
I have stuff for the child. I ain't even bothering to give you. I have some stuff for the child. I ain't even bothering to give you. Because it doesn't make no sense.
So everybody has to know business, though, Paul.
All right. I bring some stuff for the child. Because it's for you.
Back, though. Everybody has to know my business.
Yeah, basically.
Let's get into news, shall we? It starts right now.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
2 charged with Heights of Guanapo mass killings and shootings. 27-year-old man of Rio Claro to be charged for the murder of 13-year-old and her uncle. WASA owed $600 million. It urges customers to pay their bills. 7,500 households to be affected as WASA's decision to ration water, and Israel orders complete siege of Gaza as rocket attacks continue. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. 2 men are expected to appear virtually before an Arima magistrates today, jointly charged with the murders and shootings of the Peterkin family, which occurred on September 21st in the Heights of Guanapo. Jelani Rivers, 22 and 24-year-old Jodel Noel, both from the Heights of Guanapo, were both charged on Saturday by Acting Inspector Simon of the Homicide Bureau of Investigations Region 2 with 4 counts of murder and 5 counts of possession of a firearm, possession of ammunition, and shooting with intent, following advice received from Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard. According to police reports, at 12:30 a.m. on September 21st, police officers responded to a report of loud explosions heard at La Retreat Extension, Heights of Guanapo, Arima. Upon arrival, police were directed to a house where they observed the bodies of 9 people, all suffering from gunshot wounds. The injured were taken to hospital as they showed signs of life. 10-year-old Faith Peterkin, 14-year-old Ariana Peterkin, 17-year-old Shane Peterkin, and 19-year-old Tiffany Peterkin succumbed to injuries while being treated at hospital. Further investigations by the HBI Region 2 resulted in the 2 suspects, Rivers and Noel, being arrested and charged with offenses. A 27-year-old man of Old Mayaro Road, Rio Claro, is expected to be charged for the double murder of Andrea Lalan, 13, and her uncle Sylvan Lalan, which occurred on September 29th in Rio Claro. He will also answer to an additional charge of attempted murder and possession of firearm and ammunition. This comes after investigators received advice from Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard on Saturday. According to police, around 2:10 a.m. on Friday, 29th September, a call was made to the Rio Claro police station of a report of shooting, and persons were being conveyed to the Rio Claro Health Facility. Acting Corporal Sukwa and PC Mahabia responded and on arrival at the Rio Claro Health Center met victim 51-year-old Eddie Lalan, father of the 13-year-old deceased of Old Mayara Road, Rio Claro, who reported that there was a shooting at his home and that other victims were still at the scene. The party of officers proceeded to Old Mayara Road, Libertyville, Rio Claro, and on arrival at the home, they found the deceased. An investigative team from the Homicide Bureau of Investigations Region 2 continued diligent investigations, and the suspect was later arrested. The investigative team presented the facts before the DPP, who advised that the suspect be charged. A coroner's inquest into the death of Rayanne Henry in Tobago last Saturday has been ordered by the Director of Public Prosecutions. This means the incident is no longer classified as a murder, and the island's toll has reverted to 9 for 2023. According to reports, Tobago investigators approached the DPP on Friday afternoon following an autopsy on Henry's body. 36-year-old Henry of Canaan was fatally stabbed during an altercation with another woman at Gaskin Bay Road, Bonaparte, on October 1st. She died on her way to the Scarborough General Hospital at around 9:50 p.m. A woman was held for questioning and was released from police custody on Friday night, moments after the DPP's advice to investigators on the matter. The autopsy on Henry's body at the Scarborough mortuary Friday morning revealed that she died of a single stab wound to the chest. Head of the Homicide Bureau's Senior Superintendent Rishi Singh said the inquest will pave the way forward. The Water and Sewerage Authority is owed $600 million in outstanding money. Confirmation of this comes from Chief Executive Officer of WASA, Kelvin Romain. Speaking with reporters on Sunday, Mr. Romain said residential arrears to the utility is in the vicinity of over $500,000. He urged the customers to pay their bills, as the much-needed funds will help the company carry out improvements to its operations.
With regards to residential rates, we are looking in the vicinity of 600 million TT dollars being outstanding to WASA. And I would encourage customers, although in difficult times in terms of not receiving a consistent supply, I would still encourage customers to pay your bill. And paying your bill would facilitate improvements to the system for your benefit.
Romain says the authority has short, medium, and long-term plans to address water shortages being experienced by communities in the country. He attributed the shortages to climate change and decreased rainfall. He said in the short term, the authority was tightening its systems, was constantly on a leak drive, and recently installed bulk meters where it manages its systems. It was also taking a proactive approach to truck-borne water supply, where it was blitzing hard-hit areas to provide a truck-borne supply of water. Meanwhile, Mr. Romain said that households from Valencia to Aruca will be impacted by the decision of the Water and Sewerage Authority to ration supply in light of the abnormal drought being experienced in the country. The Chief Executive Officer of WASA explained about 7,500 residents will be affected by the development. He also went into detail on the seriousness of the situation, especially at the Hollis Reservoir in Valencia, which is below normal levels.
We're looking at 7,500 households primarily being affected. How we are dealing with that? We have to ration. We have to do some curtailment. We have to ration. We have to tighten up our system. We have to be a little more efficient and robust in the way we distribute the water. So they range from Valencia in the east and going west, Aruca. Hollis is actually at 43%, and it's about 30% below the long-term average of 73%. If it is that you are receiving 24/7 supply, it may go to 24/5.
Mr. Romain said there are other reservoirs across the nation which are performing well and are above 90% in capacity.
I do empathize with our customers. Saifu Trace receives a supply, a 24/7 supply. So what would have happened on Wednesday, we would have rationed the supply a bit so that the customers downstream of Granville in Ikakas area would get a supply. It usually takes a couple days for that because of the distance travel that water has to travel for Ikakas to be effectively supplied. I think because of that rationing, our customers may have been irate about it and they would have taken to protest. So as I say, it's unfortunate. I do empathize with our customers and, we would have to ration accordingly on our system.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Further afield, Israel's defense ministers has ordered complete siege of Gaza Strip. No electricity, no food, no fuel. Rocket attacks on Israel from Gaza continue with explosions heard in Jerusalem. Israel says it has regained control of its communities near Gaza, but some militants remain active. More than 700 people have been killed in Israel since Hamas launched its attacks on Saturday morning, including 260 at a music festival. Israeli says dozens of people have been kidnapped in the attacks. Most have been taken into Gaza. More than 500 people have died at Gaza after Israel launched massive retaliatory air strikes. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today until midnight. The Meteorological Office says there have been yellow level alerts issued both for hot spell and hazardous seas. So, of course, the public is being advised to keep this in mind. What's happening with our weather for the period today till midnight? Well, Trinidad and Tobago, mostly hot and sunny conditions, despite a few isolated light to moderate showers. There's a low chance of the isolated afternoon heavy shower, mostly fair night. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 34 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 33 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco is 27 degrees Celsius. It is 29 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. That yellow level C alert will come into effect from 4 p.m. today. A hot spell, a yellow level alert number 2 is presently in effect. Persons are being advised to be cautious when outdoors, to avoid staying outside in the sunshine for too long, and to take all necessary precautions, including ensuring you are properly hydrated. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, 2 charged with Heights of Guanapo mass killing and shooting. 27-year-old man of Rio Claro to be charged for the murder of a 13-year-old and her uncle. WASA owed $600 million and urges customers to pay their bills. Meanwhile, 7,500 households to be affected by WASA's decision to ration water, and Israel orders complete siege of Gaza as rocket attacks continue. I'm Avril Sindhill-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today, and there is an update coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you, Avril, for our major news. Of course, you can join her again come 8 o'clock for a news brief, and then major news once again with Sir Charles at noon today. Let's take a look at what's on the highways and the byways at this time. It is just heavy everywhere. San Fernando, Couva, leaving Couva to Chase Village. The Solo is not too bad. You'll pick up your traffic this morning, heavy traffic, just after Sugarguanas. Leaving Sugarguanas, taking Endeavor, you've got some there. Venture Stretch is still heavier. From earlier accident, Piarco to Uwe, Curep, the Port of Spain, Eastern Main Road, same thing. A little lighter by Mount Hope as you head up. Maraval, Diego Martin, you've got the traffic there. All right, where you think you'll get traffic, you will get traffic. All right, let's get the results of our morning poll, and shortly our guest should join us. Where's Wendell? Wendell, the results, please.
I'm right here, but forgive me for 2 seconds off the camera, right? 19 people said yes. In other words, our question was, do you think TNTech should officially update the public on reasons for recent power dips and outages? 19 people said yes, and 1 person said no, right? I would have gotten that one no, I think, from Rena Jennings. And of course, Romantic Lover says yes. Sherwin Kerr says yes. Morgan says yes. So we can add another 2 to that, right? So 21 yes and 1 no. Right?
All right.
Those are our results. I'm going to join Commissioner. Captain. Political
Prime
leader.
Minister.
Oh, they're among the hats. I'm going to the soon to be Prime Minister. I'm going to join him on camera very shortly.
Good morning, Gary Griffith. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning on Paul Breakfast Show. Of course, it's just Paul, Wendell, and myself in this morning. So,
oh God, I wrote a Barrett-free morning. I love 102 FM.
I forget that part. Tota, Gary. I forget Tota.
He had to go there, didn't he?
Check Paul's face.
Good morning, Gary Griffith.
Good morning.
I'm not getting involved.
You might be saying what Paul wants to say, you know.
I'm not getting involved at all.
You might actually be saying what
Gary
Paul wants to say.
Gary Griffith has a track record of shutting up the most vociferous speakers these days, you know. So, yeah, legally and otherwise. Court ordered gag. Good morning, Gary. How are you, sir?
Good morning, and good morning to your many listeners and viewers.
How is the family?
Well, fine, thank you. In fact, she's actually now on another station dealing with a situation that's very interesting, where she filed a petition demanding the resignation of two persons who hold high office in law enforcement, and these individuals actually went to social media to try to have it pulled down because they're against democracy. They're against the rights of persons, making a demand for people to be accountable for their lack of performance.
No, for those who may not know what Gary is speaking about, Gary is speaking about a petition launched by his wife, Nicole Griffith, on social media, digital platforms, to have the to attain signatures, an e-petition, right?
Correct.
To gain signatures to have the Minister of National Security and the present police commissioner removed from office. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the petition was online for a couple of days, and then I saw your wife put out a new video release, saying that the petition had been taken down.
Correct.
What is and it's from an e-petition platform, right?
Correct. What
is the reason given by the platform for taking down the exercise?
Those who felt that they were being targeted or being their jobs may have been at risk stated that it is not true, because what they sent to those persons on Facebook and stuff is to say that this is not true. We have a plan, because they provided to Facebook a strategic plan from 2017 that failed miserably, by the way. That was Stephen Williams' plan that had the lowest trust and confidence in the police service in our history at that time, and about the highest crime rate ever, and the least trust and confidence that people had in actually feeling safe. So they said that there's no justification to have them removed from office because the police has a strategic plan. What that says is that anyone who holds office in anywhere in the world, whether it's private or public sector, if you are failing, if you're not delivering, if you're not made accountable, if your performance is being measured and you're found wanting, if you have a plan, there should be no reason to justify removing you. That was the justification by the Ministry of National Security and or the hierarchy of the TTPS.
So Facebook stopped the petition. All right. The former police commissioner, Dr. Dwayne Gibbs, said the award, and I'm quoting from the Guardian newspaper here, of today, a story by Darius Polo 11 hours ago. Former COP blames state contracts to gang leaders for extortions. And I'm taking a piece of it here. Former Commissioner Dr. Dwayne Gibbs said the award of government contracts to gang leaders fueled the record numbers of extortions he observed during his tenure from July 2010 to 2012. You have is that the time you were Minister of National Security or Minister or National Security Advisor?
Yes, I was National Security Advisor. Yeah.
Right. What is your comment? Do you have a comment on that, a response to that?
No, I agree. It's something that I have stated since I was National Security Advisor, Minister of National Security, and Commissioner of Police. There's a saying that if you play with filthy animals, you will get fleas. This has been a concern for the last 15, 16 odd years. And it started with our government actually referring to criminal elements, gang members, as community leaders, bringing them in front of a round table and trying to negotiate with them. When you negotiate, it's just the same thing with terrorists. You must not do it. And politicians, they seem to believe that the only way to get things done, the only way to get projects completed the only way to be successful is to affiliate and socialize and work with criminal elements. And this happened. This has been going on for years. I got the data as the Minister of National Security. I was very adamant as the Minister of National Security. I am not going to allow it to happen. I recall even there was a police station that was built in Piccadilly. And whilst we were walking, certain individuals who were known persons of interest, who were community leaders, they were walking behind me because they built the police station. This is a police station.
Street. I spoke about that this morning, Gary, because you were the Minister of National Security on tour for that station that day with Dr. Munilal, who was Minister of Housing and acting Prime Minister, and also Jillian John. I spoke about that this morning. I remember that story.
Way right. So yeah, and it gave me the impression like what it is. I am the Minister of National Security, and then when we started doing the research, we started realizing that certain persons will be given state contracts to criminal elements, and some of them presently, I mean, even though there's an alliance with us, with the NT and the UNC, if it is that I am not going to allow that to continue when we get in government to replace the PNM. Of course, I'm not here too.
Dr. Gibbs quoted a time in 2010 to 2012 when the UNC was in power and you were National Security Advisor. You ascended to the national security position and you just identified an instance where someone of serious interest to police walked behind you when opening a police station, and you left that administration because, and I'm going to put this in a broad sense, issues related to integrity, right? That will take care of everything in that system. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's what you have.
Issues related to integrity, right, and transparency, and so and it was a decision that you were lauded for. Many people choose to keep the jobs and silent. You didn't. Fast forward 13 years, and you are now back with the party.
Right.
Do you think enough has changed with the principles in the party to justify the public accepting you in an alliance with that?
Right. Good question. But that was the only time when I stood firm on integrity. I also did it from 2018 to 2021 when senior government officials wanted me to arrest people because of their color and wanted me to put focus and interests on trying to arrest political opponents. And I told him where to get off. And like a little spoiled brat, he took offense to it. So it was my first rodeo on standing firm to what I believe in. It wouldn't be the last. And that is why, as a Minister of National Security at the time, probably ministers before me, commissioners before me were silent. And that is what, when I reached and I looked around, and I said, wait a minute, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. And I give the assurance to the country that would not, you see, at that time, I was a simple Minister of National Security. This time around, I'm a leader of a political party that obviously is going to have equal say with other political leaders of other political parties. If the heads of the COP, the Congress of the People at that time, did not want to say anything because they wanted to keep their jobs or to travel all over the world, that's what I'm here for. I am here to clean up this country. And when I got the research, I found out that many government officials, they were given state contracts to criminal elements. So they were giving them $5 million to build a $500,000 box train. And politicians, as clueless as they are, did not realize that when you do that, they are not using the extra profit to help the community. They were using it to purchase more illegal weapons, more sophisticated weapons, hire more gang members, bring in more drugs, sell the drugs, and put hits on other gang members to get their state contracts. And therein lies the problem. And it's the same thing that has taken place under the PNM administration. As the Commissioner of Police, we were littered with this, littered with reports of similar actions that continue to take place.
Gary, I don't think you've addressed the question Paul asked, and Paul, forgive me for jumping in here. What Paul is saying is that you have gone back to the same people who you had accused of certain things, you understand? And who's Dwayne Gibbs is also now commenting on at this stage, but you're still with them. I don't know that you could clean up the UNC, you know, Gary. You might be able to, you might have noble intentions of cleaning up the country, but I don't know that you could clean up the UNC. You know?
this is not about cleaning up a political party. This is about standing firm on principle. Because remember, every single approval for every cent in budgetary allocation must go through cabinet. So if I am a senior member in cabinet, I can now have, and this is very simple. We set a pattern that if there are persons of interest who are involved in criminal activity, and the Prime Minister and I, this present Prime Minister, when I was Commissioner of Police, we had a warn this. It was a tit for tat, if you all recall, when I said that we are given, that the state is giving contracts to criminal elements. As stupid a comment as he could make, he said, well, if they are criminals, lock them up. And I had to educate the uneducated that there's a difference between intelligence and evidence. There are many persons that are known as terrorists in the United States. They don't have evidence to arrest them, but they're not going to give them a contract to build the White House. So I said that.
Gary,
came and said,
yeah, we understand that.
Wendell, I know you don't like what you're going to be. Wendell, if you please, just 10 seconds. So what he said is that you cannot deprive any average citizen from getting a contract because of intelligence. That was his justification, Keith Rowley. And I had to put him in his place and say, you're wrong. If it is that there's intelligence, you do not give them the capability to build their empire, to buy more sophisticated weapons than the same police officers you want to protect the country. And he backed off and said it will be considered. It never was considered.
Okay. So I'm in agreement there. But what I'm saying is that won't you be placed in the same position that you already placed in, where you have to just leave the cabinet if you don't abide by what the cabinet is?
No. That's why I disagree. So the same way I was able to explain to this Prime Minister who refused to adhere to my advice, but I was a Commissioner of Police. Now that I'll be in a position of authority, it's a mandate that any single state contract that is given, that no one must be red flagged by the law enforcement agencies to get a contract. Talk done.
What I'm saying is that you were already in that position, Gary, and what you had to do is you left you have to leave the cabinet. You were already there.
No, Amanda, that's why you're wrong. You see, that's what I'm telling you. If it is that decisions were made by certain individuals who I still have conflicts with at this time, or difference in views, is that if it is that those things were going on for years, and then I became Minister of National Security, when I discovered this was coming close to the end of my tenure as the Minister of National Security, and I stood firm and I said, we are not going to allow state contracts to criminal elements. Now, by the time that was stated, that's when the Pandora's box opened, and then live sport came up and all of that. And I stand firm and I give the assurance to the country, it is not going to happen. So the people who may be PNM supporters that are trying to say, well, it happened with the UNC, it is presently taking place right now. Right now.
Let me reverse engineer my question a little bit. Now, you said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, in this iteration of your relationship with the entity, you are going to ensure, because of your, I guess, equal status as a political leader, is that correct?
Correct.
That those situations don't happen again. Is it that you believe that the persons then whom you had the issues with knowingly gave contracts to criminal elements?
Well, of course they did. It was automatic. I mean, for them, I mean, everyone would have known the individuals. They knew what they were doing. And it's the same thing that is happening with this administration. So what Dwayne Gibbs is saying is a fact.
I'm just trying to get a train of thought here. So you saying persons in critical positions knowingly gave contracts to criminal elements, and which to me is extremely egregious, if not unlawful, because I mean it's this taxpayers' money. And so you had disagreements with them to the point where you left an administration. That's why I asked the first question. Saying that you will be a check and balance is one thing, which is not a problem. That's somebody with integrity. But knowingly associated with persons who did that is something else. Knowingly choosing to reassociate yourself with someone who had that propensity. Don't you have an issue with that?
No, well, you see, Paul, I hear you and I understand what you're saying, but let's look, everything in life is options. The other option I have is to go the straight and hard road of the ONR, the NAR, and the COP. And then it means that come 2025, the same thing will take place again. So I am obliged to be able to get involved with one of the two major political parties to ensure that any shortcoming that would take place would not take place because I will now be in that position. So by stating that I am the perfect person, and I will not stay. And I've heard so many people speak about this with the PNM and the UNC, where both parties would have faults. Both parties have done a lot for the benefit of this country. But if it is that we don't affiliate ourselves with one of these major political parties, it means that we can very well get the same thing that will take place in 2025, 2030, and go on. The PNM, we know they're adamant they are not going to change. It is littered with the number of state contracts being given to criminal elements. Littered. I got it as the Commissioner of Police. I gave it to this government. They refused. They don't care. In fact, one of the ministers, he stated, but Gary, the money that we have to spend to give to the police to protect the contractors, it is more than what the gangs are claiming and through extortion. So he actually did it by dollars and cents. That is how bad it was, which is why I was very pleased that someone mentioned the possibility of you have 5,000 members of the defense force. You can probably utilize them. Or as I did with a certain counselor when there was a situation in South Key where we were trying to build bleachers and criminal elements through extortion were trying to stop it from being built. And what I did, common sense, put undercover officers, have them dressed as the contractors, and we took their wicket. And that is how police is supposed to be operating. A Minister of National Security is supposed to operate to ensure that we are adamant that whilst I'm in this cabinet, I want it agreed to prior to the election, let the country know we are not going to affiliate ourselves with criminal elements. We are not going to give them state contracts. And when that decision is made, the country can have the assurance you're going to see a major reduction in criminal activity.
Gary,
I didn't finish my line of questioning. I allowed you to continue, Wendell.
No, it's just that point he made about the counselor.
Right, and I'm pursuing a line of questioning, if you'll allow me.
I'll come back to that.
Right. So your approach is you don't think you can make it on your own, given the present political construct in the country. So you have to choose an alignment between either the PNM or the UNC, both of which you suggest have had instances where state contracts have been given to gang elements. So you choose the lesser of the two evils for the long-term good? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the fact of the matter is, if I don't do this, what would you prefer? Would you prefer for me to stay away and be clear and clean because we are so perfect? The Congress and the people had the same impression as well. And then when things were going wrong, they stayed silent. My concept is that if it is that mistakes were made in the past, it will take someone of my character and integrity to get in there to ensure we do not repeat the mistakes of the past, because I will now be in a position of authority to ensure it happens by advising the leadership of the other political parties. This is wrong. I did not have that type of authority. I was the Minister of National Security, but you had political leaders of the UNC, the COP, the NJAC, the MSJ. They were all there. And now I'm giving the assurance to the country that the mistakes that have taken place for the last 15 years under different administrations would not take place, because I was not in that position at the time to have.
You'll be a stronger political ally leader than was Winston Duker and Carolyn C. Prasad Beechan et al.
Of course, they sat. You see, we people blame the UNC for what the demise of the People's Partnership. The COP hierarchy, they sat down. I was there in cabinet at times. I saw certain bills and certain things being done, and they said nothing. They did nothing. And I was the one who had to stand up, and then I was told, but you're not a member of the COP. Why are you standing firm? So certain persons went in there for their own personal agenda, and they did not represent that third constituency. That third constituency, or that 150,000 who are not PNM or UNC till they die, but they stand firm on integrity and what is right. I intend to make sure they are properly represented this time around. Wendell, you were saying something?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on, Gary, that issue you raised about what you were able to do as Commissioner of Police with that undercover operation that you did for me. The counselor you referred to. No, well, I'm telling the public it's me, because I was chairman of Downtown Carnival, and I got wind that there were thugs on the site preventing the contractors from building the downtown stand. And we did make contact, and you were able to put that operation in place, and we were able to complete the stand without interference from these thugs. And I met the officer, the senior officer. I can't remember what rank he is, but I know he's either inspector or assistant superintendent. Yeah, I met him on the site, and he too was in plain clothes that day. You understand? And said, listen, we will take care of this. And it was taken care of. And I always wonder why that kind of policing can't continue. I say that in the context of what's happening in downtown right now, with these fellas grabbing and snatching. Why has the police put a sting operation in place?
And again, this is not the fault of Earl Christopher. This is a time in this country where you need a commissioner of police who's operational, who's tactical, who's strategic, who understands that type of law enforcement. Earl Christopher, Stephen Williams, McDonald Jacobs, they are good people. They are good people in Gabardine holding a cane being behind a desk. Earl Christopher got 30% less by qualified experts in 2018. 30%. She got 52% to others like Dulalcha and myself who got over 80. In 2021, she got 20% less. The now appointed Police Service Commission that with individuals who have no law enforcement experience or qualification, inclusive of an accountant and a speaking consultant, they decided to put her first. So she does not have the tactical capability to do the things that I was doing. And you're correct, Wendell. That is what should be done. Instead, you're hearing the police saying, we are concerned about this situation. You do sting operations. You put covert operatives. When you call them covert operatives, sleeper cells, you put moles, you put them, and that's what I was doing. We were putting them in the underworld. We were putting them in with gangs. We were getting what was known as predictive policing. We were preventing the crime from taking place. We prevented over 70 murders because of predictive policing. Having sting operations, that is what is required. But when it is that you have a prime minister who handpicks a president, who handpicks a police service commission, who are totally incompetent, that they will say that we will appoint someone who got 30% less than others by qualified experts internationally hired by KPMG. The Police Service Commission is responsible for where we are now, not Earl Christopher.
So are you saying, but you are saying that the wrong choice was made essentially for Commissioner of Police in terms of the tactical experience to deal with what we're facing now? At the end of the day, she's the Commissioner of Police. Whether or not you feel she's the right choice or the wrong choice, she's the Commissioner of Police. Am I incorrect?
You're incorrect to the point that she's the Commissioner of Police not by qualification or standard, but by political appointment.
But because remember, there was a president. Is it that you're saying that she does not have the requisite skill set to deal with what criminal element we're dealing with today?
And that's what I'm saying, Paul. In 2018, remember the laws were changed where the appointment of the Commissioner of Police, you need to hire international experts.
Does Earl Haywood Christopher have the skill set to effectively manage the crime we're seeing today? It's a very simple question. It's a very simple question.
No, but wait, if I give you my answer, it will seem personal. What I'm telling you is that the qualified international experts that KPMG hired, who appointed 20 other police officers around the world, said they answered your question. She does not. She came 17th or 22nd. She got 52%. I can send the data for you. How could someone who got 30% less, placed 22nd, and 3 years later, she decided to go ahead of all the other individuals who were beaten up comprehensively? This was a handpicked selection by an incompetent police service commission that were handpicked by a president who broke the law. That's the point I'm stating.
Will 1,000 additional police, as announced in the budget, make a difference?
All right. No, that is within the established strength, and which is good that there were 8 policies that the Minister of National Security brought out in the budget. Every single one was a regurgitation and a complete overhaul of exactly what I did as a minister or as a commissioner, from the damming vessels, social media monitoring, community policing, the vetted units, the scanners, every single thing he piggybacked. He took 8 out of the 120 policies shut down. That one you spoke about, Paul, recruiting. As the Minister of National Security at the time, I understood that we were doing batches of 100 twice a year, but we were losing 200 police officers annually based on retirement and so forth. So the concept is we could never get to the shortage of the 1,400 if we keep doing the same thing. We are not going to get different. We're going to get different results. I then moved the training to the Chaguaramas Convention Center, and from there we started getting batches of 300, and we did it 2 or 3 times, and it was the closest we had to our established strength. Because of pettiness, small-mindedness by the PNM, they refused to continue what I did. So for 8 years, we went back to the academy. After 8 years, realizing what they're doing is wrong, now they want to go back to the Chaguaramas Convention Center. I did the homework as the Commissioner of Police. Colin Imbert should do his homework instead of wasting taxpayers' money. It is going to cost $30 million to refurbish that Chaguaramas Convention Center now. Whereas the police academy, there were several buildings in the back of the film center that belongs to the state that people are paying rent and charging other people state buildings that we could utilize that instead. And that will get us to the established strength. Having said that, recall 2018 to 2021, it's the same number of police officers that we have now. So it is not about increasing quantity, it is enhancing quality.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because my next question was going to be, do you think that the present training regimen is adequate, or should it be amended to deal with what we are facing now, especially in terms of transnational criminal elements in the country, the drug trafficking issue that we're facing that is driving much of what we're seeing on the ground, from my understanding?
Yeah, definitely. And that was being done, Paul. It's not just about, you see, we speak a lot about drugs. It also had to do with customer service training, public relations, put in systems to measure performance and make police officers accountable, put in GPS tracking on the vehicles to ensure that they don't park up by their girlfriend for the whole day. That is why everywhere you went, as soon as there was a traffic congestion, we had an operation command center, see the traffic, and you'll have when last have you seen a police officer directing traffic? We were doing that every single day, dozens of places, anywhere there's traffic. If a police vehicle will go 100 miles per hour on Rice Road at 4 p.m. on a Friday, we could check and realize you're not on a distress call, so you know that you're abusing your authority. All of that has been shut down. The body cameras, the live cameras on the dashboards of the police vehicles, everything has been shut down and removed. So that is why you're not seeing the high visibility. Arapita Avenue on a Friday night, Wendell, every 3 minutes, people started getting upset. They were seeing too many blue lights, too many sirens, because we had systems based on the same number of police officers. So now you're not seeing police officers, you're not seeing vehicles. Usually within 2 minutes, you make a call, you in a home invasion. By the time you jump back over the wall, a few moments later wasn't by accident. We had a comprehensive lockdown system using technology. We had a police app with 400,000 hits. They shut it down. We had online reporting. So if a 13-year-old girl is raped, she doesn't have to go to a police station where that police officer might know the suspect and then she's killed. She will go on online reporting to link up with a gender-based violence unit that will come to her home to a delivery service. All of these things were shut down, Paul. So the systems were there. And that is why public trust and confidence in the police moved from 14 to 55%. But Wendell's prime minister decided to say, I want to change it.
It's our prime. You know, every time I listen to you, I get upset. You know why? You know why I get upset? I remember the days leading up to the selection of the commissioner of police. We, Power Breakfast Show in particular, campaigned for you. Because you know why? Because we thought that bringing somebody who did not come up through those ranks, those disgusting ranks of the police service, would work. And it did. And then every morning I would spend time saying, Gary, hush your mouth now. Gary, hush your mouth now. Gary, you're talking too much now. And you didn't listen. No, because, so I get upset because I knew that you were on the right track. And then I started to see Gary falling in line with the same damn nonsense. Forgive my words.
No, but Wendell, you've come a prime minister telling people to lock up. Let me finish. I'm just even commissioner to lock up political opponents.
All of that started to get personal. That was personal, and
because it was out of place. 23 U.S. police chiefs told the most powerful man on the planet, shut up. You're affecting my security.
You know what? Both you and the prime minister and everybody else for that matter just need to put aside whoever petty and do what's best for the country. Because the country needs.
But I did that 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I said I am willing to provide my service and support to help the government and the country. And you know what that petty little man said? I don't care. I don't want to talk to him. And then you had your people like train seats in Orlando and Toko.
Mr. Gary, I can't sit in an interview and you be insultive and disrespectful to the prime.
But I am giving a fact. That is what the man did.
I won't allow anybody to do you that, so I won't allow you to do the prime minister that.
I'm sorry, he showed immaturity by not looking at the bigger picture.
You could say words like that.
What's your response to the budget and the general measures outlined in the budget? Because you're a political leader, so your opinion matters at a significant level. What stands out from the budget for you as productive, and where do you think the gaps may lie, if you think there are gaps?
Well, again, we try to spend so much time trying to balance our budget by trying to see how much income we could get to balance with the expenditure, which is what our budget is about. And then the one thing that the PNM is good at to try to balance the budget is try to tax the way out of everything. And that has always been, there's never been any thinking out of the box to find a way to access another degree of income other than trying to tax persons. And then there's the other element, because the best way to balance a budget, if you cannot increase your income, it is to minimize your expenditure whilst not affecting productivity. And that is where it is, we have a serious issue. Going right back to what I spoke about, Wendell, with markups, kickbacks to criminal elements, tender process that takes place. We have state board officials where 95% of them have no qualification in the state board that they were appointed, other than the fact that they have a PNM party card or whichever party card, whoever is in government. This allows for mismanagement, incompetence, and corruption. So if you could actually reduce by 20% your expenditure based on such mismanagement and corruption, it helps you know in trying to balance your budget. I'll give you a simple example, Paul. We were able to save over $100 million per annum on corruption with overtime with police officers. $100 million, because Colin Imbert, in his wisdom, decided to cut the police budget in 2020 during COVID, when the police would have been at its highest, by over $300 million. And I had to find an avenue to get riverine patrol vehicles, to get social media monitoring unit, to get GPS tracking on vehicles, tasers, body cameras, pepper spray. And then I realized we had a couple hundred police officers claiming they were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and signed by other officers. I was able to reduce that overtime corruption by $100 million. So I think that is just as important. We never put interest on how do we reduce expenditure whilst not affecting productivity. What we hear a lot of economists speak about is we need to diversify and we need to put focus on agriculture and all sorts of different things, which is good. But if it is what we become very stringent, which is what I intend to do in cabinet, every single cent that is spent, we need justification. We do not need to have situation with tenders where you have 3 persons put a tender and all 3 of them do an exclusive markup so that they will get something and then kickback comes out. If we can reduce our expenditure by at least 20%, which is based on corruption or incompetence, it will assist us to minimize the situation as we have now. As it pertains to the minimum wage, yes, it is important that persons who are on that threshold should have an opportunity. But we also need to be very careful when we make those decisions. So, for example, the private security industry, you have 50,000 security officers that were probably making about that amount, right? 1850. You push that up now. What is going to happen is 2 things, gentlemen. Either it means that the state or whoever, the private or public sector, will be forced now to increase their rates, which is now going to be a byproduct of increase in goods and services, a byproduct of inflation, or you're going to say, well, we were hiring 35 security officers, we now only need to hire 25. So you're going to get unemployment as the back end. So as much as people are very excited about the increase in minimum wage, it acts as a byproduct towards unemployment or inflation.
Well, that is always a possibility when one increases minimum wage, but it's something that the country has to grapple with in any case.
But you have to do it. You have to control it.
Well, wasn't it a measured increase? Because some were calling for $25, some were calling for $30. So isn't $28.50 a measured increase?
Yeah, and I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying that the people who are saying we should go up to $30, they don't understand the domino effect that can take place when these things happen. So it has to be measured.
Are you willing to take some calls and from our audience who are always very eager to talk to you?
Yes, certainly.
And the numbers are 222-TALK, 222-8255, 612-8255. And if you're calling from North America, it's 866-525-1099. Our guest is NTA political leader and the man who thinks he may be the next Prime Minister, Gary Griffith. How's that going to work? Because you clearly have intention from what you've said earlier on.
I didn't say that, I didn't say that.
You said that you are potential Prime Minister. We're recording this. Okay?
Well, as you know, when they was calling different names, I said, why not say Prime Minister?
Well, you better be the Prime Minister.
When they look what's on my jacket.
You better be the Prime Minister if you want to.
Look what's on my jacket.
If you want to get all what you say done, you better be the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Gary Griffith. Are you interested in being Prime Minister of this country?
I don't know what the future holds for me. I am making myself available in whatever form or fashion the country would like me to be in.
So you're interested in being the potential a prime minister of this country? You're politically a political party, so come on.
It is an option, of course. You don't, and that is the point, Wendell and Paul, exactly what you said. The reason you form a political party is to win. The reason you form a political party is to get into government. I am a realist. Whether it was the ONR, the NAR, or the COP, a third political party cannot get in government. We are going to get 150 to 170,000 votes. You divide that by 41, you're going to get 3,000-4,000 votes per constituency. It is not going to get you anywhere. We do not have proportional representation. So if it is that 150,000 they want to be represented, we are not joining with the UNC. There's a strategic alliance where we still have our principles, we still have our constitution, but by me being in a position of authority, it would ensure that the mistakes of the past would not take place or will be greatly minimized.
All right, gentlemen, let's grab this call. Good morning. Morning, caller.
Hello.
Good morning. Mr. Griffith, I'm glad to ask you this question because people don't seem to want to ask you the right people the right questions. We were informed through another commissioner or some inquiry that under your stewardship, when you do the timeline, it had to be under your stewardship, that 2 vehicles were leased. They were supposed to be to scan vehicles for guns and whatnot. We were advised that it yield no results, but it seems that they were locked into a contract for a particular period of time. One, could you explain why this vehicle was leased and continue to be leased and yielding no results?
Okay, that's one. You had a second question? You just said one.
And well, the second question would be, why wasn't anybody consulted for the legality of these vehicles before they were leased? Because I understand, like OSHA stopped it from.
Okay, right. So that's a total lie. OSHA never stopped anything. One good thing with the PNM, they say the same lie over and over. You get some of your fanatics to believe it. OSHA never stopped it. Those type of scanners were used worldwide, in United Kingdom, all over Europe, and they are very instrumental in trying to pinpoint drugs and ammunition and weapons in vehicles. So that's one. So there's nothing about OSHA. That is the same feeble nonsense you heard about the scanners we had in the ports, and certain persons didn't want to use it because they were afraid of radiation. So sometimes the criminal underworld is so very powerful, they find avenues to lie to prevent them from continuing their enterprise. Two, those vehicles were very successful vehicles, as I said, worldwide. Because of COVID, we were unable to get the experts to come down here to be able to assist us in utilizing it properly. But those vehicles were heavily utilized during in patrols. On my departure, based on obviously either incompetence, political pettiness, or affiliation with criminal elements, those in authority refused to utilize those vehicles, because those vehicles could have also been used on the ports to assist in pinpointing illegal weapons and drugs. Anyone who has a concern with me as a commissioner of police getting scanners to be able to find illegal drugs and weapons on the road, then you are no different to the criminal yourself.
Gary, report. Just before we go to the next call, Steve, a question. As your commissioner of police, can the police make a raid on the port without the authorization of port police or port leadership?
No, the port is like an embassy by itself. Even in hot pursuit, we can't get in there, which is why I drafted a border protection unit. I gave it to the Prime Minister. And again, either based on incompetence or some type of criminal underworld that has some influence with those in authority, they refuse to implement it. So the one day, Paul, that you have one rogue custom officer, one rogue stevedore, one rogue driver, and one rogue security guard by the gate, it means a container could leave with 1,000 illegal weapons, and the police will seize 800 for the year. I drafted the border protection unit to put an end to that, because so you'll have representatives of the police, army, coast guard, customs, immigration, private security, all watching each other, working hand in hand to minimize the illegal drugs and weapons that enter. Because the U.S. Embassy confirmed with me that over 95% of the illegal weapons that enter our country, which by the way is trivialized by this government because they spend more time dealing with legal firearms that save people's lives, 95% come through the legitimate ports of entry. That is why it was so important for us to put a border protection unit. That border protection unit will do a lot to minimize the illegal entry. and also with the implementation of the scanners, the mobile scanners that I acquired, and they refused to use after 2 years based on either incompetence or trying to affiliate and be sympathetic to criminals to allow drugs and weapons to go through the roads. That is where we are at, Paul. But you're correct. It is the police do not have the authority just to rush in there unless they have a warrant.
That's confusing to me. The port seems like a state on itself, unto itself.
That's right.
Seems that way. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning to the gentlemen who have aspirations of being the Prime Minister of this country. Gentlemen, I want to know, seeing they have aspirations to be the Prime Minister of this country and they're going so far to put things in place to be a political leader, I want to know how are you going to break the system? At minimum wage, I always say $20 an hour for 20 years. I ain't even making $1 million in 20 years, and yet in 20 years we spend over $1 trillion. So 195,000 persons work in 20 years for less than 15% of $1 billion. And added to that, when you put the rest of salary, it come up to about 25% of the $1 trillion. What we did with $750 billion over the year, you're not seeing it, and I'm not seeing it. And the thing about it, if that system is in place, you can't do anything. All you could do is run down little bandit on the street, because look at $750 billion spent, and it's not salary. Is it recurring expense? And everything I had to do, I had to borrow money from the bank. Something is wrong here. So if you're going to be a leader, how do you dismantle the system? Thank you.
Well, the first thing you have to do is to accept the fact that there will be those persons, sometimes we feel the criminal elements are just those with their pants sagging and the white vest and the gold chain. But there are those in shirt and tie and suit, some of them even in parliament. And you have to stand firm to understand that sometimes, regardless of political party, there will be those individuals that will utilize this in a convenient manner. I intend to stand firm, as I did with live sport, as I did when I had a concern about the individual escorting us by Piccadilly, as I did when it is politicians were trying to influence me to arrest political opponents, as I did when senior politicians were trying to get me to arrest people because of their color. I will stand firm. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do a job. And those simple things that he spoke about, gentlemen, we lose hundreds of millions of dollars annually by corruption and kickback through either criminal enterprises, persons getting markup on contracts that really cost 10%.
Gary, are there untouchables in Trinidad and Tobago? You mentioned white-collar crime, and we're always talking about, since the late Patrick Manning days, Mr. Big, and you're right, we focus on the blue-collar criminals and the little boys in the street. But we don't seem to, despite all efforts from administration to administration, are able to take down the people who have the resources to bring in the guns, to transship the drugs. Are there untouchables in this country?
Yeah, they are. And on the mistake I made as the commissioner of police was to go after those persons, because they were persons heavily affiliated with government officials. Well, the first thing I realized is that the police service, we were playing catch up. We had several different units jumping over each other. That is for the first time we formed a white-collar crime unit, that was bringing in the FIB, the fraud, the ACIB, and cyber under one umbrella. So we were able to start sharing information and then be able to pinpoint and target persons that assisted us in getting many arrests through white-collar crime. Then we had police officers who would be on the take that will deliberately not come to court. I was able to reduce 87% in police absenteeism by police officers simply not attending court, either through being fearful or through being paid. And no disciplinary action was being taken. 87% reduction in police absenteeism. Now it has returned. And then we have the situation where, regardless of who you were, you would have known that as the commissioner of police, persons who are arrested who were in the opposition, persons who were cleared who were in the opposition, persons who are arrested who were in government, persons who were cleared who were in government. I didn't care what party card you had. And there was a major investigation that I was doing where the government utilized their legal, they went to court and they said, well, this case is null and void. And I said, no, you having your civil case has nothing to do with a police investigation. because the investigation that I had made for very interesting reading. And all I asked was for 100,000 TT to get an engineer to reconfirm what was put in that report. And that is where I made my mistake, because those persons were closely affiliated to government officials. So when you hear anything about Keith Rowley firing me because of my situation with Bayside, that soon enough the country will find out the real reason.
Why don't tell the country now?
Well, I just did.
Give us the details. You give us the overview.
The fact of government officials being reluctant and upset of me being independent as a commissioner of police. Now we see a commissioner of police. We know for a fact the law is broken in that merit list, because the minutes of the Police Service Commission showed that they never withdrew the merit list. So we know that the law is broken, and this commissioner of police would refuse to investigate. We know that the police officers who went and abducted Brent Thomas, that they were given instructions by a government official, because as a commissioner of police, I can confirm that no police officer could leave the country without the approval of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and the commissioner of police will stay silent. So what this government has is what they want. A commissioner of police will toe the line, not go after them, and target political, and use the police service now to target political opponents. That Trinidad and Tobago is a police state.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Griffith.
My pleasure, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary Griffith, for being with us.
Any matters that we can expect to be settled in the courts coming up?
Oh yeah, we have a few. We have the audit coming up. We have a couple with Rhoda Barrett coming up. We have the Blisti Prasad matter coming up, because that has gone to court. I've also taken Stanley John to court. I've taken Keith Rowley to court for referring to me as a criminal. Oh yeah, the line is long and distinguished, gentlemen.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
I only have so many suits. I don't have that many suits. So I have to be very judicial in how
I stopped wearing suits.
Using my formal way. You'll have a great day. Be safe.
Folks, have a wonderful day. Remember to let go and let God. Bye-bye.
All right, gentlemen. Talk to you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.